Mufti, if someone's heart is full of rust, meaning because of sins, as you mentioned that on every sin a dot is put or placed on his heart, and that becomes some sort of rust. So if one's heart is full of this type of rust, so how can one remove that rust, and how can he get rid of it?
The solution of removing that rust is mentioned in one hadith. The Holy Prophet ﷺ said, there is cleanliness for every kind of rust. And the cleanliness for the rust of the heart is the recitation of the Holy Quran. So recitation of the Holy Quran, but with understanding. I would say that is more effective way. That is a more effective way to recite the Holy Quran with understanding. Because when we recite Quran, when we understand that, so then it has some different impact over our hearts. We get inspired by the orders of Allah Azza wa Jal. Because when we recite the Holy Quran with understanding, we have in our mind that now Allah Azza wa Jal is speaking to us, because this is the word of Allah and this is the kalam of Allah, and Allah Azza wa Jal is speaking to us, and He is ordering us, He is commanding us to do that and to abstain from that. So recitation of the Holy Quran is the best way to remove that rust. The second thing is, and which is mentioned in hadith and in the books of Awliya Karam as well, the remembrance of Allah Azza wa Jal.
Meaning zikrullah.
Yeah, zikrullah Azza wa Jal. The remembrance of Allah Azza wa Jal is one of the best solution for the rust of the heart.
Verbal zikr
Yeah, verbal.
Okay.
Yeah, verbal zikrullah Azza wa Jal, as reciting some tasbihat, as repeating the name of Allah Azza wa Jal again and again, and reciting some tasbihat. Because when someone recites tasbihat, so it has impact on his heart. A person feels some softness and comfort in his heart. So that is a very good way to remove that rust. The third thing, and that is also very obvious, everyone can understand that very well, the remembrance of death and grave and the day of judgment. Because when we remember our death, our grave, our matters on the day of judgment, it softens our hearts. Because death is enough for admonition, as it is mentioned in one hadith, kafa bil mauti wa'ida. So death is enough for admonition. So a remembrance of death and grave and the matter inside graves and the matters on the day of judgment, being present in the court of Allah Azza wa Jal, being accountable there, and measuring the good deeds and bad deeds in the scale of deeds, and then passing the bridge of Sirat. So if someone thinks about that and he ponders upon that, so then it will soften his heart and it will remove that rust from his heart. That is the third way. And the fourth way is to, that is also mentioned in one hadith, if someone feels any hardness in his heart, so he should pass his hand over the head of an orphan. So passing the hand over the head of an orphan removes that hardness and that rust of the heart. So that is another thing which is mentioned in one hadith.
Achha Mufti, you mentioned four things: Tilawat-e-Quran, Dhikrullah, remembrance of death in hereafter, passing the hand or rubbing the hand over the head of orphan. Some people, they have done this thing twice or thrice, but still they can't see any difference. So, I mean, can one see difference just by doing twice or thrice, or will it take a lot of time? He has to do a lot, then he will be able to, reach the desired effect.
These things are kinds of remedy, and remedy takes time. Every remedy takes time. That is not only a headache that it will be removed within a few minutes. So it will take time, because the rust is not an ordinary rust. That is the rust of sins, and that is the side effect of sins. So it is very firm and it is very hard in the depth of the heart. So to remove that rust, it needs a lot of attempts, a lot of tries. So that's why just recitation of the Holy Quran for a few days is not enough. And similarly, remembrance of Allah Azza wa Jal is not enough for a few days. It takes a lot of time. Only the remembrance of death can erase the rust within a few minutes, because sometimes it has a lot of impact, because sometimes the remembrance of death has constant impact over our hearts, and for a long time we remain away from the sins. But mostly it will take time, and approximately I would say at least minimum for 40 days the person should be constant upon that, on the recitation of the Quran, remembrance of Allah, remembrance of death, and well behaved with orphans. So for at least for 40 days he should adopt that remedy, then he should receive the result.